Hey everyone, we're going to take our second day of class notes on 9-7 where we're graphing quadratic inequalities. Spent 3 days on 9-3 where we did the same exact steps, we just didn't have to do step 5 and part of step 4 with the dotted and solid line piece. So that process at this point should hopefully be getting easier. We are going to list A, B, and C. We need to find the vertex. We need to make a table. Put the vertex in the middle of the table, pick your two numbers smaller, bigger, plug back into the original to find and finish your table. Then you plot your points, you decide dotted, solid, and you shade either above or below. So let's go ahead and start our first example. I'm going to first talk to you guys about dotted, solid, shading above and below. We have our solid line underneath. So I know that I'm going to use a solid line when I connect. A less than or equal to, less than means below. We've done this several times in the classroom, so we should feel comfortable with listing those two things. A, B, and C. In my opinion, these are always the hardest ones when there's a negative here. I really highly suggest you put in that -1. And so I can clearly see that A is -1. A, B, and C are always numbers. No putting X's with these. These are just numbers. B we find with the X, which I can see is -6. And C is 4. We find step 2, we find the vertex, which is the highest or lowest point. The X chord is going to be opposite B over 2A. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the opposite of B is 6 over 2 times a -1. So I'm getting 6 over -2, which is a -3. Then I need to find the Y coordinate. And I'm going to go back to that original. And I'm just going to use an equal sign. And I do write the -1. I sub in a -3 squared where I see x's. So now I see a -6. Now I need a times a -3, and then I have the +4. To be very careful, this is where I'm seeing a lot of students' errors. So the -3 squared, a -3 times a -3 becomes 9. So I have -1 times 9. Here, a -6 times a -3 is a +18. And then I have this +4 that we bring down. We multiply these to get a -9 plus 18 plus 4. -9 plus 18 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. -3, 13 is my vertex. Step 3, I make a table. I put that vertex in the middle. I pick numbers smaller. On my coordinate plane, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So smaller is going to be -4 and -5, -2 and -1. Unfortunately, 0 is not in our X values, so we can't use the shortcut. We have to actually plug in either these two or these two, and then we can use symmetry. So I'm just going to start by plugging in -2. -1 times -2 squared minus 6 times -2 plus 4. Where did I go? Back to the original. The -1 stays, the -6 stays, that +4 stays. In both places where there's an X, I now plug in a -2. Order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, says we have to do this piece first. So many students accidentally do this. You need to do this first. So that -1 just comes down. This becomes a +4. Because a -2 times a -2 is a +4. We multiply a -6 and a -2, we get a +12. And the +4 comes down. I multiply to get -4 plus 12 plus 4, and I get 8 plus 4, which is 12. I can put a 12 here, and I can put a 12 here. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug in a -1. Back to the original, that stays a -1. I sub in the negative 1, that stays a negative 6. I sub in the negative 1, and that stays a plus 4. Exponent first, a negative 1 times a negative 1 is 1. A negative 6 times a negative 1 is a positive 6 plus 4. Y equals negative 1 plus 6 plus 4. Different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger. 5 plus 4 is 9. So I need a 9 here and here. So I am going to move, and I'm going to have to extend this up, maybe even off of the graph, but that's okay. I'm going to move 5 to the left because that's what the x says. Remember that this is your x-axis and this is your y. 1, 2, 3, 4, start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Over to the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 12. That was 9, 10, 11, 12. It's going to fit just exactly. 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3, up 13. That was 12, that's 13. 2 to the left and up 12. 1 to the left and up 9. Connect with my solid line. And shade below. Go anywhere in your parabola and go down, 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 down. This is where you will be shading for this one. Second example, list A. Oh, let's talk about dotted, solid, above, below. I can see no solid line here, so dotted for this one. And less than, we're going to go ahead and shade below. A, B, C. Again, students struggle here because they don't see the number, but remember, you can put in A is 1, B is 2, and C is 6. Vertex, moving right along to step 2. X chord is opposite B over 2A. Again, I see a lot of mistakes here. You have to take the opposite of what you see here. So if you see a 2, you need to be plugging in a negative 2. 2 times your A is 1, so 2 times 1. So we're going to get negative 2 over 2, which is a negative 1. Find the Y chord by plugging in negative 1 back into that original. So I have negative 1 squared plus 2 times a negative 1 plus 6. Again, the 2, the 6, they stay, and here I plug in a negative 1, and here I plug in a negative 1. Order of operation says exponents first. A negative times a negative becomes a positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. And then I just do the basic math. Different sign, subtract, keep sign of the bigger. Different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger. I'm getting y is 5. I make a table. I put the vertex in the middle of the table. On my number line, here's negative 1. To the left is negative 2 and negative 3. So above that, we want to go numerical order, top down. And then here's negative 1. So the next in the positive, bigger than negative 1, 0 and 1. Zeros in my table. The shortcut says across from 0, you can put your C value. Across from 0, we can put a 6. If we put a 6 here, symmetry says you can put a 6 here. Now I have to find the number that goes here and here, and it's the same exact number. You decide, you have options, which is easier for you to plug in. For me, 1 is easier. Where do we plug in? Always back at that original. I am plugging in a 1. 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 6. 1 squared is 1. 1 plus 2, because we multiply those to get 2, plus 6. So we're adding, same signs. Adding, same signs, I'm getting 9. The 9 goes here, then the 9 goes here. My table's complete. I've shown all of the work necessary. A lot of students were leaving off this piece. I need to see that. This is the x-axis, this is the y, and you can put your tick marks and numbers. I should probably just show my numbers that I'm counting by ones. And I'm going to go 3 to the left and up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 to the left and up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 to the left, up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stay at 0 and go up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 to the right and up 9. We said dotted and below would mean go anywhere and draw lines going down. So we're shading all of that. That's clear. Let me know if you need help. Bye, everyone.